Hey guys, Mustang here, bringing up Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video, and so today we are going to do the team building guide for the GT Super Saiyans EZA that will be going live in about 7 hours time. This video will be going up at 10 PM UK time, so 7 hours from now the EZA will be out. And we're going to go through the options here for building the best team to beat that event in the quickest and easiest way possible. Because, of course, it is a 30-stage EZA. It has both of the characters combined for the one EZA. So it's only the one 30-stage Extreme Z battle. You'll get 34 stones after all by doing all the missions. And then that gives you the medals to EZA both of the characters. So you fight against Goku for the first 5 phases, then the SSR of Vegeta for 5 phases. Then we've got the TURs for 5 phases, and then when you get to stage 21, you fight the TUR of both of them together up until stage 30. And then obviously if you want to carry on past stage 30 and just get Hercule statues, then you continue to fight both Goku and Vegeta. Something to bear in mind as well is they have damage reduction against all super types. So there's not a lot of super type characters on the category anyway, but super type characters are going to be doing basically no damage to them, right? They do 80% less damage. So we're going to be looking for extreme characters only. And of course, the category is power absorption. So if we switch over to the category here, we're going to take a quick look. As always, with my team building guides, we're going to go through the top picks and honorable mentions. If there's any units that you think I miss out or I should have talked more about, do let me know why they'd be good for the team down below in the comment section. And if you find the guide helpful at all, do hit that like button. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Getting super close to 30k subs, so it'd be great if we could hit that before the EX part ends and the anniversary officially comes to an end. That would be pretty cool. So let's go ahead and jump in. So obviously the go-to leader, if you have him, is the Tech Buhan. Leads power absorption and then gives artificial life forms or uncontrollable power the extra 30%. Now, of course, this guy released not long before the end of the year, not long before the anniversary. So I imagine there's probably a lot of people that did not bother to summon for him. And of course, he was technically an option that was available with the Purunga Wish, like the 10th anniversary stone. But, I mean, there are a lot of units, I think, ahead of him in terms of priority on the list, right? If you're someone who didn't use it to get one of the main anniversary headliners, chances are you're probably picking up somebody like LR Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, LR Full Power Jiren. I know some people picked up Glorio or Daima Goku, which is now in retrospect a little bit unfortunate with them coming back on a banner basically straight away. But this guy's definitely up there in terms of solid picks, and he is a very good unit. Obviously, you can run like a full Buu team with him. As long as you have the full power absorption rotation, you can use his active skill early, domain, super Buu, get some like build up, and then once he goes back to being Buu hard, and he hits incredibly hard. So he's just a very, very good unit, perfect leader for the team, highest leader skill in terms of a power absorption lead. But of course, like I say, he's probably a unit that not a lot of people are necessarily going to have. So we've also got the Int Fat Buu. So whilst he doesn't lead power absorption, obviously Buu Saga, Sworn Enemies or Storied Figures, you can get basically a full Buu team out of this. Sworn Enemies also includes the Cell characters that are on power absorption. So this guy can make a pretty good leader. He is, of course, a good unit for events like this, because even if you've got him with like no dupes and you're starting to find like the later phases a bit more difficult, it's all well and good for him to just come in, die, revive, and then of course the next time he comes around he has a Ghost Usher active skill, so he can still be very, very useful in this event even if you are struggling with it a little bit. So he can be a very, very good leader for the team as well. Just remember, it's not technically power absorption, so there's a couple of units that we might talk about who wouldn't fit under his leader skill, but close enough. If you want to run like the full Buu team or something like that, you'll be able to get everybody under his lead and have the full 200%. Otherwise, another really good option for the leader, and just a good option to have on the team, is the physical LR Buhan. Obviously starts off as Bootanks, because of course, remember, you can't have units with the same name in an EZA, so you could use Buhan, and then you can use this guy, even though he transforms into Buhan, and that's perfectly fine. So this guy's really good. If you don't have the other leads, he leads power absorption for 180%, or if there's any characters that don't fit on those other two leader skills that you would like to run instead, like if you have Int Buu, but you want to run some characters that we may mention here who aren't on like Sworn Enemies or Majin Buu Saga, you'd be able to run them under this guy's leader skill for the 180, and then you can just run a friend in Fat Buu or Tech Buuhan, right? So we all know this guy's really, really good. He's stacking on his 18 key, and then, of course, getting extra defense with each additional 12 key. He is certainly a solid unit. He doesn't transform until turn 4, which I guess most EZAs, they usually end on turn 4. Maybe turn 5 if you've got a slightly weaker team. And then, to be fair, the final phase, remember, this fight for the last 10 levels has 2 enemies. So, of course, if you are then transforming into Buuhan, he can put out some very good numbers as well. So this guy, very, very good. Even if you're not running him as the leader, definitely a go-to inclusion on the team. Now, the thing is, when it comes to Tech Buuhan, as we've already discussed, right, you can't use characters with the same name. So, funny thing is, even if you have Tech Buuhan, whilst he does offer, I guess, the best leader skill other than the Int Fat Buu, if you use this guy, you can't use this guy, right? So, Int Buuhan from the getting his Super EZA from the anniversary, this guy is the best Super EZA still, probably one of the best extreme like TURs, if not the best extreme TUR in the game, maybe. So I think even if you have all of the units to choose from, I think you probably want to go with the Int Fat Buu lead build and then run this guy on the team, because especially without, he doesn't need to build up like the Tech Buuhan, as he's just a nuking style character. So like, as long as you pick up enough orbs, he's just going ham and like doing his thing from turn 1. So I think he's a really, really good option to run on the team. And like I say, I think in terms of the most optimal setup, I would say run Int Fat Buu as the leader, or the physical Buu tanks, of course, over running Tech Buuhan, because then that allows you to have Int Buuhan on the team. And remember, if you get like 3 rainbow orbs of him, that's a 99% chance to crit, which, let's be fair, is basically guaranteed. And if you get 4 rainbow orbs, it is literally guaranteed. So then it doesn't even matter that the GT Goku is physical, because this guy will be critting. So he's probably like the MVP, the go-to for the team. You just obviously can't use him as the leader because he has a terrible leader skill, but he's probably the most valuable unit to put on the team, right? So then we have the Super Buu, the AGL LR Super Buu. Now this guy, he's not the craziest, because we're not fighting a Buu Saga or a Fused Fighter enemy. He doesn't have guaranteed guard. He still has a 70% chance to guard, but the thing that could make him quite useful for this stage is the fact that as you are fighting 2 enemies from stage 21 to stage 30, he does have an AoE super as his 18 key, right? So he can do a little bit of damage to both of these guys at the same time, whilst being another differently named Buu character to be on the team, right? So he's probably more of an honorable mention than a top pick, but there's not really any other just standalone Super Buus that you would run instead of him. So he's definitely a solid option. I think there is actually one other Super Buu, but not everybody necessarily is going to have him, and that is this one, the 60% support one. So if you're running a team that has a lot of physical characters on it, then I guess he could be useful. But remember, you have to have at least 3 other physical allies on the team, and then that gives him the guard for 4 turns. By having the extreme allies on the team, he does have the ability to change the entire orb field to physical if HP is 50% or less once only, which can be pretty useful, because obviously all of these 50% supports, they are nuking style characters. But there are a few physical, like you could make a power absorption team that is mostly, if not all, physical, and then this guy would be pretty helpful to be on there. But if you're mixing and matching all these other types, like the AGL Super Buu, Int Buuhan, like this guy becomes less valuable, right? So the AGL Super Buu is probably going to be the better option. We also have, of course, the Tech Exchange Buu, so another non-physical unit. But this guy really, really good post EZA, really good damage reduction after supering, just very, very tanky. EZAs aren't the hardest hitting events in the game or anything, so you don't have to worry too much about these guys. They're a very casual, like, post-super attack. They're just going to be able to survive basically anything in this event. Can do a decent bit of damage. They don't have a lot of, like, crit or anything built in, so you probably just want to be targeting Goku with them and let the physical units take care of Vegeta. But obviously once we transform into the Evil Buu, we have the dodge built in with the damage reduction. But then from that point onwards, you need to get to, like, turn 7 to see Super Buu, which is Very unlikely, but were that to be the case, he can do a lot of damage, but unlikely you'll ever get to see Super Buu. Now, much like the AGL Super Buu, an interesting option could be STR Fat Buu, because he's another one of these characters that doesn't AoE, and there's not really a lot of other characters, like there's no other Majin Buu goods unless you're using the Int one as your leader. So that's where the clash lies, right, with this Buu team, with some of the characters having the same name. I think I'd rather run this guy as the leader and run Int Buuhan on the team than run a different leader and then have this guy. But obviously it depends on what you've got, right? You might only have the physical Buu tanks, and then you can run this guy and the Int Buuhan, and it's all good. But he changes Int Orbs to STR, gets a bunch more attack and defense per STR orb obtained. He can double super, and then, yeah, his super is an AoE, right? So he can definitely be good, hitting both Goku and Vegeta while doing a pretty decent amount of damage to Goku because of the type advantage. So he's a worthwhile choice if you're not running the Int Fat Buu, but I think the Int Fat Buu probably has the more value overall, right? So then we have our first well, I mean, she's a Majin character technically, right? But the evil Android 21 is on power absorption. Now, of course, she is not a Buu Saga sworn enemy or anything like this. This is what I was talking about. Like, she's not on Int Fat Buu's leader skill, but she's just on like a power absorption team. She has big bad bosses. She's a pretty solid unit, like decent defense after attacking, built-in chance to additional. She's nothing really too crazy. Like, on release, she was very, very good in the meta at the time, but this unit is like over a year old now. But she could be solid for this, especially in the Vegeta phases. If you were going to mix up the team a little bit, make it stronger for the different opponents, and then make some changes, make some subs. Obviously, she would be very, very good for the team that's fighting the Vegeta. Then we have the Mr. Buu. Now, this guy, I mentioned this guy because even though he's a super class character, which means he's basically not going to do any damage, he's a uniquely named character. There's no other Mr. Buus. And then in terms of like the World Tournament EZAs, he was the only good one for a very long time. He has the ability to reduce damage received, depending on the number of rainbow orbs that you pick up. So he can be really, really good on the team. He's not going to do a lot of damage, but he's just going to be good to be there as a defensive unit. So if you've put like your first 5 units on the team and you don't really know who else to bring in the final slot, this guy can go there and just be a relatively good tank. But of course, like I say, he's not going to do any damage because he is a super class character. Then we have the Tech Cell. Now this is again like the physical Super Buu, one of the 60% supports, which I know not everybody is going to have, but you know, he's going to be able to buff all the extreme tech units. So Tech Buuhan, Exchange Buu, and then obviously the, I think we've got the Extreme World Tournament Tech Cell, this one. Unfortunately, the Super EZA Tech Cell isn't on power absorption, which is unfortunate. But you've got this guy from the World Tournament. He buffs all artificial life forms allies, so that counts for the Buu characters. And then debuffs superclass enemies, which doesn't really work in EZA anyway. But he does get additional stats against a superclass enemy. And then, yeah, he gets an additional super attack when facing 2 or more enemies. And he does massively raise attack and defense on his supers. So chances are he'll be able to work pretty well, tank very nicely, and you know, just buff everyone else on the rest of the team. I mean, he could take some damage from like the Int Vegeta super attack, but otherwise he should be pretty good. But the thing is with like the extreme tech, I guess actually we could have mentioned the Prime Battle Tech LR Cell. He's definitely not terrible, but he's not like top tier anymore. Same with Int Cell, right? He doesn't have the pre-anniversary buff anymore. Metal Cooler is definitely outdated. Fu, there's no other like crossover allies to run with him. Android 13 has some decent support and won't transform if you don't bring other androids. So if you wanted another Big Bad Bosses character, he could work potentially. And then like AGL Super 17 has kind of stood the test of time forever, right? With him and his little bit of damage reduction and building up his defense. But he's probably not particularly usable in this event, I would say. And then, yeah, when it comes to extreme tech, like if you're running this tech cell, like, you know, like I say, we can run Exchange Buu, we can run this guy, we could run Buuhan as the lead, or we just run the Prime Battle LR Cell on the team as well. But other than that, the extreme tech options, not exactly crazy. The AGL 21's on here, but remember, superclass units don't do damage, so there's not really much point in running her. Everyone else, like STR, TURs, are all pretty for this. I guess you could run, like, you got this Mirror who's in Power Absorption that builds up defense with supers and then transforms into the crazy, like, Super Saiyan 4 Super Mirror. But he's probably not going to be too crazy. But like I say, you can kind of mix and match the teams, right? Like, you could throw in a couple of extra physical characters when you're doing the stages where you fight Vegeta and then swap them out for some STR characters or just type neutral characters for when you fight Goku. And then obviously you just got to bring the best version you can, bring the big guns for the final phase, right, where you're fighting both of them at the same time. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Obviously for Power Absorption there isn't a huge selection of characters. You've got like the Boo Piccolo as well. I didn't mention him because at this point in the meta, like, he's not very good defensively. He might be just about manageable in the EZA, and he does have built-in dodge, although it's only 30%, but he supports Power Absorption, so that would be pretty good. And then AGL Cell could be relatively decent as well, as long as he's not in slot 1. So there's some decent options here if you have access to all of the units. Otherwise, Power Absorption not the greatest. One thing you could do is run the full Boo team, because obviously they're on demonic power, under the double Glorio leads. Because remember, Glorio is not on the category, and he's a superclass character, so he won't do any damage. But you could have them both floating in slot 3, and then he's going to be giving a huge amount of support to the team, potentially just dodging all of the attacks in slot 3 anyway, so he won't take damage. And then it just juices up all the Boo characters. So if you have Glorio, that's actually an option I would say could actually work kind of well on this as well. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. What team build are you planning to use in order to get this EZA done? And like I said at the beginning, if you think there's any units I missed out or should have talked more about, do let me know down below in the comment section. But yeah, this one should be fairly easy. I'm not streaming in the morning to do the EZAs. I'm going to try and, because it's out at 5 AM UK time, I'm planning to wake up, just try and get the EZAs done, and then post the showcases like as quickly as possible. So hopefully we will be able to get those out and see what the Super Saiyan boys are looking like post EZA. So like I say, let me know your team builds down below in the comment section. But that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.